It was supposed to be a quiet weekend, you know? My wife and we'd finally closed on the old Benson farmstead, 10 acres of wild grass and wind at the edge of town, where the only thing louder than the crickets at night was maybe the echo of my own relief. After a dozen years running calls as a cop and 3 more sweating it out in the Marines, I figured I'd earn a little space, somewhere nobody cared how you cut your grass or what time you started the tractor. I wasn't expecting trouble, not out here, not with all that land between me and the nearest neighbor, but if there's one thing I learned on the job, it's that trouble finds you, even if you try to duck it. And in this neck of the woods, trouble had a name, and it was Karen. She lived right across the fence, in one of those gleaming McMansions with a driveway wide enough to land a small plain part of an HOA development where everything looked like it had rolled off a magazine page, where the lawns were cut within an inch of their lives, and people tended to squint down their noses at anyone not in the association. First morning after we moved in, the sun barely up, there she was at my gate, clipboard in hand, that tight little smile that says, "I come bearing complaints." She said my barn and tractor disrupted the neighborhood vibe, and that wild buffer space was supposed to stay wild as if 10 acres of field needed her approval. She even threw in a line about seeing chickens like I was running some black market rooster operation. I tried to keep it polite. Told her, "Yes, ma'am, got the permit right here. Animals are legal, county property, not HOA." She just sniffed. "We have standards here. It's inconsiderate." I let her have the last word and went back to hammering fence posts and tending goats. I thought that'd be the end of it, but not with people like Karen. Over the next 2 weeks, she filed half a dozen complaints. Noise, odor, something about visual obstruction, even trespassing though my goats barely left the shade, let alone wandered into her kingdom. The county looked it all over, shrugged, tossed her reports in the bin. So she kicked it up a notch. It was a Tuesday, and I was off duty, just out back piecing together a new chicken coop, when I spotted the lights 2 patrol cars at the end of my drive, blue strobes bouncing off the mailbox. Karen was out there, waving her arms, running her mouth a mile a minute. She called 911, said she saw a man with guns on his land, claimed I was building a militia compound, that I had structures and livestock, prepping for something, and that she felt unsafe. I could hear every word echoing off the siding. One deputy young guy, still had that fresh out the academy look, came walking up real slow, hand near his belt, eyes scanning the barn. "Sir, do you live here?" he asked, all business. I wiped my brow, try not to laugh. "Sure do." I introduced myself. Deputy Marcus Clean, Sheriff's Department. Badge 2413. His eyes went a little wide. The other deputy, older, just grinned and waved, recognized me right off. I motioned to the shed, grabbed my own uniform off the hook where I'd left it the night before, slipped it on, badge and all, and stepped back outside. That was the moment Karen's face dropped. All the color just drained out. "You hear that's right," I said, calm as a Sunday morning. "I live here. I also answer 911 calls when there are actually emergencies." She tried to backpedal. "But there are firearms, and it's suspicious," and I cut her off. "Ma'am, all weapons are locked, registered, county inspected. If you want to see the paperwork, it's right here." The younger deputy checked his notebook, nodded. "Ma'am, he hasn't broken any law. This property's outside your HOA rules." Karen kept pushing, got all red-faced, started ranting about arming animals. I just looked at her. "You mean my goats?" I said, stone-faced. The second deputy had heard enough. "Ma'am, filing a false police report is a crime. You're lucky we're not pressing charges." She went from red to white in about 2 seconds, spun on her heel, and stomped back to her shiny SUV. I figured that was the last of it, but, well, the universe has a sense of humor. See, what Karen didn't know is I'd installed security cams around the barn not because I expected drama, but because I'd learned not to trust luck. The whole scene got recorded. Her ranting, the flashing lights, my surprise reveal in uniform. My cousin, who's got a wicked sense of timing, took that footage and tossed it online with the caption, "HOA Karen calls the cops on her neighbor, guess who the sheriff is?" It blew up. 1 million views in 2 days, last I checked. I got texts from old buddies, folks at the station, even my mother-in-law. The HOA had to put out a public apology, promising to address inflammatory conduct by board members. Karen? She stepped down from the HOA board, and I haven't seen her near my fence since. There's a funny twist, though a week later, I'm at the farmer's market, and there she is, pretending to compare tomatoes, eyes glued to the ground. My neighbors, the ones who used to drive by and glare, started waving. Some even stopped by with fresh pie. I guess goats and a badge get you farther than a pickup truck and a smile. So, it turns out, even out here where the wild grass grows and the fence line stretches for miles, some people just can't stand to see someone else minding their own business. But sometimes justice shows up in boots, in a faded uniform, and a whole lot of folks online get to watch the fireworks. And as for Karen, let's just say, if she ever needs help, I'll be first on the scene. That's the job, after all. But hey, what do you think? Was I out of line for holding my ground? Or did Karen get what was coming? Does an HOA board have the right to police what happens outside its borders? Or does county land mean county rules? Drop your take below. I'll be reading.